All right, here we go. Next up on the hit parade, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, give us a story on Schmetz.
I don't know if I can give any of these stories, not because they're bad, but because I can't remember them from undiagnosed concussions.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chance Fry is here, longtime teammate of Schmetz, and a man who I'm guessing also broke curfew once or twice.
So
They make you look smarter. They make you look smarter.
Most of you guys that know Schmetz will recognize this. These are a couple little notes. One of the things that I love that Brian says, or said before when I was coaching with him, control the controllables. And it's a great saying I still say to my kids, and this is the controllable, because when I get up here and I'm a little bit nervous, I'm got my notes to refer to. Brian and I met each other when I came to the Sounders, hit it off right away on and off the field. On the field, for the reserve games, we seemed to have a connection, and it was really fun playing with him. When the Sounders folded after the '83 season, we went to Tulsa together with David Bradford. And the one, I guess, funny story is that my mom, I was pretty much a mama's boy, and she came to Brian and asked if I could live with him whenever we went down there. He and Teresa were newly married, and I was 19 at the time, and Brian was 21. So it wasn't like I was living with parents or anything. He was like a big brother to me and really took care of me. Once again, can't tell any stories from Tulsa. It's too bad, but I've got a couple of things I was thinking about saying, and it's one of those sort of Academy Award moments. I've got the microphone, and if the music starts playing, I'm just gonna keep talking. I actually contemplated bringing them in, but I've got a couple of pictures that I brought, left them out in the car. There's two of them, and they're two of my favorite pictures that have Brian in them. One of them is a celebration after he scored a goal in Tulsa. It's indoor, I'm on his back. It's a great photo. The next one, I want to tell you about it. If you looked at the picture, you'd see that I'm celebrating a goal, and in the background, no one would notice it until you point it out, but there's this guy running behind the play, and he's got this great smile on his face, and it's Brian. And he's not happy because the team scored a goal. He's happy for me. And that is awesome. And that's the one thing that I wanted to kind of touch upon while I had this opportunity, is that during this MLS Cup run, it was amazing. I sat in the background like everybody else. I would text Brian and, congratulate him and everything, and it was a quick little back and forth. But the thing that I think I am most proud of, and I believe most of the people here that know him, is that during the run-up, when he did the press conferences and everything, he was always praising his players, and everything was directed towards them and deflecting from himself. And I loved it. And people that don't even know him came up to me and said, "You know him, and is he really like that?" And I said, "Yes, he is like that." And the last part of that story, the reason I wanted to lead into it, we were watching MLS Cup at the Wild Rover in Kirkland. A few friends, my wife and I were there, and our good friend Dick McCormick. At the end of the game, Roman Torres hits the penalty. The whole place is going nuts. I'm standing there, and I love to watch the aftermath of championships. People are on the field celebrating and stuff. So I'm sitting there, tears coming down my face. And if you guys know Dick, he's a bit of a hard man. I looked over at him, and tears were coming down his face. Anyway, the reason why I just tell you that is that we looked at each other and had this moment. We were super happy for the club, but we were more happy for our friend. And because then we know he would have that same feeling for us. So thank you for letting me tell you that. I'm sorry I didn't look over at Brian very much when I was saying this, but I'll get a bit weepy. But I really appreciate and I'm honored to have been invited here. And thank you.
Okay, one story about Chance Fry. I want to tell one story about Chance Fry. We're playing in Giant Stadium against the Cosmos. How many people know Franz Beckenbauer? A lot of people out there, right? So we're playing against Franz Beckenbauer. I mean, we're just a couple of kids from Seattle, Washington, Bellevue, Washington, Seattle, Washington, right? We're playing against Franz Beckenbauer. And I'm playing, and Franz has the ball out on the right wing, like 35 yards from goal. And that was back in the day when you could play the ball back to the goalkeeper and stuff. And I'm sitting there, we're pressing the game and everything. And all of a sudden, Franz Beckenbauer takes the ball like this, and he's going to play a blind pass back to the goalkeeper. And all of a sudden, I'm looking ahead of me, and Chance Fry is actually reading the play in the mind of Franz Beckenbauer, one of the greatest players ever. And here's Chance. He goes in and he steals this ball, and he scores a goal. And I am so fired up for him. We were just like going. That night was nuts, by the way, afterwards.
That's one of those stories we can't talk about.
So the capper comes. We lose the game 3-2, right? But another play comes around. Chance, who is a striker, 18. Pete, this is no lie. He's like 18 yards out. I forget who crossed you the ball, but somebody crosses you the ball. Chance goes up like this, 18 yards out, heads ball, second goal. Unbelievable story. Chance Fry, my hero. My hero.
Thank you.
My hero.
Brian always seems to remember a lot more than I can.
Very good. Thank you. Chance Fry, everybody. Hey, were you good at math at all? Are you good at math?
No.
Because I'm wondering, because it just hits me with you and Coach Hinton, and you just mentioned Pete fewing out there and Cliffy back there, the number.
Back there.
How many wins are in this building among
It's a
head
lot of
coaches?
wins.
There's a handful of wins in this building. If we had to start a soccer club tonight, we'd be okay in the coaching business. All right, our next guest's coming out. Know Coach as well as anybody. He'll be so shocked you're here. Go ahead, give us come on out and give us some stories, guys.
Sonny boy, you ready for us?
This could be good. Do you want this mic too? You want me to just?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, Andy Schmetzer and Walt Schmetzer, the brothers of Brian Schmetzer, the twins.
Now you can't answer us. Now you can't answer us. We have
the questions.
Yeah, we have plenty of stories to tell, but we kind of rehearsed what we want to say to make it okay.
Hold the mics up close.
First thing is, we got to get through this soccer. I mean, there's enough soccer stuff here. We got to talk about Brian, the young man, who he was, what a great big brother he was. And the story I keep telling to everyone is, you know how big brothers are. They're bullies. They're kind of like, oh, you know, I'm going to kick your butt. And then me, out of all of us, I was a hothead. I got it from my dad. I was a hothead German. I was like, no, you're not. And then we would always be the ones fighting. Well, one day, Jim Kirk, who was there, it was Jimmy's fault. My mom said so, it was Jimmy's fault. And Brian built a crossbow out of 2x4s and like some kind of, no, it was a crossbow. And so I was trying to get home to do my homework. I'm sure of it. And Brian and Jimmy wouldn't let me get through the gate. And there was one player on their team, his name was Carl Bennett. He was a great guy, and he said, let him through. And you know Carl, right? He was a great guy. Jimmy and Brian were like, no, you can't go. And I go, I got to do my homework because Oma's mom's going to get me in trouble. I mean, I don't want to get in trouble. And so they've got this crossbow, and they're sticking it right there going, you're not getting through. If you do, you try, we're going to shoot you with this crossbow. I'm like, no, you're not. And Brian's like, yes, we are. And Jimmy's like, yes, we are. And I'm like, no, you're not. And then all of a sudden, with this, somehow, poof, it shoots me right in the chest. And we're all like, I look down, thank God the arrow had some, it wasn't even sharp. What a bunch of idiots. It's not going to go anywhere. So it just bounces off my chest. And then, of course, my brother says, I told you I was going to shoot you. And so that started a feud that we always had. Andy was always kind of the mellow one. He was like from he was a guy from Switzerland, kind of just like, he just was happy with everything. But the one thing I will say, and I'm going to, one more story about when we were little, and then about soccer. Brian and I, when he got old enough where he could really kick my ass, him and I got into it, and we were pushing each other. And he pushed me, and I flew across the room, and then I went up, and I nailed him one good. Yeah. And he looked at me, and I went, I'm out. I'm running. So I started running down the driveway, and I fell on a metal rake. And this metal rake was sticking in my shin. And I'm laying there going, oh, shit, I can't run, and he's going to kick my butt. He came out, looked at the rake, and goes, are you all right? And that was the way Brian, it's always the way Brian's been. Tough exterior, warm and fuzzy inside. I'm sure all the players know that. And he actually helped me up. And then I'm going to let Andy speak, but I mean, my greatest memory with Brian was when we just got out of high school. Andy and I we were playing for FC Seattle, a semi-pro team.
Pete Fewing was on that team, I believe.
Pete Fewing was our, weren't you captain? I was captain. There we go. You made $250 a game. Yes, I only made 100. You know what? I was under 21. I didn't need a beer. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, so Brian was at an age where we never really got to play with him. We'd play and pick up games or whatever, but never on a team. And he came up from San Diego and played with us against Santos of Brazil, and it was the first time we had played in a serious match, and he scored 2 goals. It was unbelievable, and just playing with him and seeing his professionalism is really stuck in my mind, and I think I'm guessing, Zach, you could probably vouch for that, but his leadership, it's unassuming. I mean, he'll get in your face if he's pissed, but it's unassuming. He leads by his personality and what a great leader he is quietly, and I think that's a huge thing. And so, Brian, that was my best moment.
Okay, I don't have any childhood moments because I just watch them fight all the time. So there were some good ones, by the way. Very good ones. So I'm going to go right up to the soccer stuff because, and we'll kind of bypass a lot of the young stuff because, and this is a story about Tulsa, and I will refute what Chance Fry said. He wasn't that much of a mama's boy when I went to Tulsa. So we were 17, I believe, right? 17, Brian and Chance had been on the Sounders and went to Tulsa, and so Brian invited us to come out for, I think it was a few days, a week or so, and we had, and at that time, you know, I think we were ready to go, maybe play college soccer, maybe do something else. And at that time, didn't really have a good idea of kind of what soccer meant. We were just doing it all our lives, and it was our family, and that's just kind of the way we did things. All our friends, all the people we grew up with. So went to Tulsa, and then got to practice. Brian set it up so we could actually practice with Chance and the first team, and you know, to me that was probably the coolest soccer moment that I had at that time. And again, it was like Walt said, just kind of watching Brian be kind of this rough exterior at times when we were kids, but then I think he knew that we were kind of wanting to do something like that, and again, he set it up so we could train with the first team, and we had, I mean, that was for me, one of the best soccer moments I've had, or I had at that point, and you know, just kind of the way he helped us, I think, and again, to mimic Walt, you know, Zach, and all the young guys that have played for him before, I think it's kind of that's how he is. I think he nurtures players and teaches them to be good professionals, and you know, and kicks them in the ass when they have to, but then again just leads them in the right direction. And I think, you know, for me that Tulsa trip was probably the most pivotal soccer moment that I had, because when I got back from that, you know, I kind of looked at the game a little bit different, and it's just fun hanging out with him and all the professionals, and so it was good. So, you know, I think for me, Walt said FC Seattle, awesome. I mean, playing for him or with him. But like I said, those nurturing moments for me was just that trip to Tulsa, and where he kind of let us come in with him and saw how it was to be a professional. So that was pretty good.
Can I just say one real quick? So Sonny Boy, that was Brian's nickname because he was my mom's favorite. So whenever anything happened, it was always our fault, never Sonny Boy's fault.
I love these two guys a lot, right? But their 5 years, they were mistakes. They were mistakes, okay? That was like, you know, whatever. He pulled a knife on me once in a fight, this guy here, and yes, he would try and, you know, he'd try to wrestle and get me down, you know, and those two guys would gang up on me, but you're right. You were the rough one, and yes, I have to admit, my mother called me Sonny Boy. But I love these guys. They're great. They're fantastic human beings. I love them to death.
Pretty good. Good job, guys. Well, we find out the Schmetzer house was a violent place. Crossbows, fist fights,
Knife
fights, crossbows. I mean, for what were you, a psycho?
No, I made it out of like an old BB gun or something.
Yeah. Tell it to the police.